Good, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Waterstone Election 2020 podcast. I'm your host, editor of the Daily Blog, Martyn Bradbury, and with me in the studio is libertarian political commentator and stuff columnist, Damien Grant. Well, we are now 7 weeks away from the 2020 election, and this week, Labour cried wolf for the people of South and West Auckland. Judith Collins' husband started shitposting 4chan Junior memes. The Greens decided to fund a Jedi Academy. New Zealand first are irrelevant, and no one's listening to ACT. Damien, highlight of the week. No one's listening. Highlight of the week.
You can't go past the Jedi Academy. That was just magnificent. And you know what's really good? If you want to see something entertaining, you go to the website of this green school and you see the guy, and he's got a 15-minute video, and it's just outstanding. This guy is just a little bit not quite on the same plane as the rest of us. But in fairness to him, though, I'm going to defend this guy. Right?
What?
I'm going to defend him.
And his magic crystal garden?
The thing that he set up in Bali, right? So the couple, they were a wealthy couple. They made a bit of money, and they've invested in the school in Bali. Now, look,
Yes.
it's not my cup of tea, but I think for those kids that go to that school, there is probably a much better opportunity than their other alternatives in Bali.
Is that saying much, though? Is that saying much?
No, I think that they are, in their heart of hearts, in their soul, I think they are good people and they are doing good work. I don't know why they need
12 million?
No, I
We'll
wouldn't.
get into it.
I would not send my kid there, but I would be happier if they kept doing stuff in Bali and Somalia and stuff like that. But still,
Let's kick it off with Labour this week, Damien. So a wrong health message is sent out. The Herald ran it without confirmation, and it all scares the bejesus out of 700,000 Aucklanders. Jacinda was incandescent with rage. Who screwed up here? The Ministry of Health or the Herald?
Well, no, you said it was Labour that sent it out. I don't think it was Labour.
It was the Ministry of Health.
It was a Ministry of Health screw-up. No, I don't think the Herald screwed up. Although when you look at that message, there should have been some reality check to say, hold on.
Why are we only seeing this here in this one? Wouldn't this have been something like for that level of we're going to now mobilise 700,000 Aucklanders? But that's a straight to the
This is the way the media operates now. I mean, they basically just take press releases and spurg them out, right? So, and because
but this was not an all points bulletin sent to everyone. The Herald saw it, questioned it. Didn't get an answer and went, well, screw you, we're going to go with it anyway.
And again, I think that's part of the decimation of media that's happened over the last 20 years. So 20 years ago, there would have been a senior editor or a journalist there that
who would have gone, hold on, what the hell?
Yeah, but right? You've probably got some 13-year-old graduate from AUT journalism
who's
school.
running the social media feed.
Yeah, exactly. And they pushed it out without checking. So,
right.
Look, it's a bit of a storm in a teacup, honestly. I mean, it's a screw-up. But in the scheme of screw-ups, honestly, this is at the lower end of the scale. I mean, compared to Adrian Orr printing $100 billion, look, it was a storm in a teacup. It went for about 4 hours, and some people got tested, so what?
Did you see Jacinda at the press conference? And the Jason Wells, I think, was kept asking her questions. The Herald journalist going, it's still online. It's still, I'm looking at right now, it's still, and she was seething with rage.
I am going to wait to the formal party political broadcasts that come out rather than watching the ones that the Labour Party is currently doing from the podium of the Beehive.
But it's great at 1 o'clock. It's just, you watched it thinking to yourself, oh, sweet Jesus, whoever put that online is going to get it now, because when she gets off that podium...
Are people still watching those 1 p.m. broadcasts?
Very popular.
The ratings must have come down by now.
Well, I mean, they're not so high.
You sure it's not just you and Matthew Hooton?
Well, it's still two of us. Labour have survived this week?
Yes.
No great, huge dip in popularity?
No, I think Labour did have a bit of momentum, but I think, National were picking up a bit of momentum, but I think the scandal over Judith's husband's probably taken some of the shine off that.
Well, let's have a chat about that. So, 64-year-old husband of Judith Collins is David Wong Tung. Shitposted some 4chan Junior memes on Facebook. why is a 64-year-old man shitposting?
Martin, you and I shitpost
But
a
we're
lot.
not 64. We are not 64.
Okay, look, I mean, I'm 54, you're 29, but still, I don't know there's a huge difference between our age and... I mean, what's the magical difference between 54 and 69? No, look...
9 years. You got a decade to mature.
No. He was reposting rather silly National Party memes.
Yeah.
Who cares? This is a non-story. Don't care. Move on. I think I think most people were probably surprised. But so I think the first day was bad for Judith. I think the second day, though, I think the way Judith has handled it was just
I can't
A-class
control
politics.
him. He just does what he wants.
I know. It's fantastic. But I mean, that's probably true, right?
If Clark had posted something like that,
Jacinda would have handled it with the same...
Mike Hosking would be going into a self-harm preservation state. He would have been freaking out.
I will tolerate no criticism of Mike Hosking this week.
Why?
You know why. I love you, Mike Hosking. You're great. No, I think so. Look, it's not a good look for Judith Collins, for her
Doesn't
husband
it
to be
just
treating
remind
this stuff.
everyone that they're a bit nasty and a bit mean?
No, it
doesn't.
It doesn't. What it does do, I think. So yes, it's not a good look for Judith Collins for her husband to be going off script like this. But I actually think the way Judith Collins handled it, I think was great. I really like it. She's come out there. She says, "Look, I can't control him. If anybody's got ideas how to control my husband, please let me know." She's made light of the situation. She's demonstrated...
He's not sexist because he married me.
Yeah, which is great. She is showing a degree of humility and vulnerability that I think most people like. I'm not a Judith Collins fan, but I like the way that she handled that, and I give her kudos for it, and I think a lot of other people will understand that as well. Look, we can't control our spouses. I mean, it took me a decade and a half to convince my wife not to vote for National.
Okay, sure, one can't control one's spouse, but...
I can't get my wife to iron my shirts, for heaven's sake.
But a little bit decorum, surely.
No, you're
the first gentleman?
No,
No?
he's not. He is the husband of this week's leader of the opposition. So
it's a temporary thing. Could change by the end of the week.
Yes.
Fair enough. Let's get into the Greens because, oh Lord. Okay, so the Greens decided to give $12 million to a magical Harry Potter environmental wizarding academy where they train Jedi
and crystals.
And the cocooned classrooms look like the Ewok village from Endor. What the flying Christ is this?
Who leaked it? That's the real question. Who leaked it?
Well, they put out a press release boasting about it.
The Greens did.
Yes. Oh, and Shaw did it in his role as minister.
I missed that. I thought Labor had leaked it. Just to
No.
undermine him.
Oh
my God! He was proud of this.
They were more. He was boasting about it. He was boasting about the Ewok village.
Okay.
They're making magical Jedi.
Okay, well, James Shaw's problem in that situation is
Yeah.
he should not have apologised. He should have stuck his ground. He should have said, "This is shovel ready," and because look, they turned off all of the oil and gas in that region. So here's
magical crystal powers is actually all they've got moving forward.
The thing is once again, I think it's a storm in a teacup. It's not a good look for James Shaw. I agree, but it's only not a look for James Shaw because it's
his
a
entire
private school.
activist base is completely against it.
Okay, but I'm not too sure that. Well, there's two things. One, I don't think the wider public really care. But you're right. It's his hardcore base that's the problem.
Who are going to not vote for him because of this? Wasn't the Saudi sheep bribe that McCulley did? That was 11 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
This is more. This is more money than the sheep bribe.
It's not a good look, and the way that the James Shaw has come out there grovelling and apologising,
and he has acknowledged that it is a big enough mistake that it will sink them at the election. This is 6 weeks out.
No.
What do they do?
I don't think it will sink them at the election.
He said it might today.
Yes, but the narrative is moving so fast.
Yes.
That I think we're not going to be talking about this in 5 weeks' time. So I think that's part of what's going to save James Shaw. But the thing that may sink them is that they are so close to the margin that 5 or 10,000 votes may well be the difference. Which is why Chloe needs to win Auckland Central more than ever before. It's all down to Chloe.
And we will have Chloe on the show next week, and we'll be talking to her about that. But for James Shaw, for his own support base, they've had schools in that region coming for public schools going, come have a look at our mould, come and have a look at how run down our things are. We don't have $11 million to fix this stuff. We're only looking for 100,000. Can you give us 100,000, James?
But didn't this government hand out $400 million to schools about a year ago?
Yeah. And the thing is, this 12 million came from a completely different budget. It didn't come from the education budget. And that's how James is trying to, well, this didn't come from it came from this, But now we're finding out that they've got some wacky thoughts and beliefs. And it's all a bit crazy.
And also they charge something like $40,000. So this, you look at, we've got one down here called Vanguard, and Vanguard was it was the charter schools pitched at troubled youth. You got some other charter schools that were clearly targeted to lower socio-demographic and
none of them are
issues.
Charging money like this.
No,
this is on the highest end.
So here you have kind of like some Harry Potter version of kings,
right?
And they're the ones that got the money, and I think that's what is damaging. But yeah, you've got those 5 to 10,000 votes at the margin that James Shaw may lose, and they can't afford to lose those sorts of things.
And James Shaw said he will not resign. He will not step down.
Well, who else are they going to put in as the male leader?
And this is the problem, right? They've got no one other than maybe Harry Potter, but I don't think he's standing this election.
No. Ricardo March, he's coming in next time round. Old school communist him.
This could be the thing that actually just sinks them. Because last time with Materia, the hardcore of the party still supported her about that. But there's no one in the party who supports giving private education $12 million for a Harry Potter theme park.
So the Greens need something else to change the story. And to be fair to the Greens, I mean, they have had some wins. So the oil and gassing, I think they can claim credit for. Banning of plastic bags, I think they can claim credit for. They have had some wins.
But again, for those environmental people who believe climate crisis is the existential threat of this society.
Oh, they got the 30-year thing.
Doing something in 30 years is not a response.
Yes, but James Shaw leads a party with, 7 MPs? So he doesn't have the ability to drive the agenda.
No.
He lacks... I mean, this is the existential problem with the Greens, right? This is where I think the Greens made a huge mistake. The Greens should have indicated a convincing willingness to go with National. Because if they would do that, if they had given even the possibility of sitting on the cross benches, then they would have been able to get more out of Labour. Or even go with National. Because
well, what about just sitting it out, saying we're not going to come across?
No, because then they would have got nothing, right? So James Shaw the Greens' great weakness is that the Labour can take them for granted, as Helen Clark so brilliantly did, right? Just said, well, I know you're not going to support National, so I don't care. I mean, this is going to be potentially the problem for ACT, more likely in 2023 than this time round. Is can David Seymour convince National that he's prepared to bring the house down to get what he wants? Now, the thing about and that's a problem for both Greens and ACT is that they need the ability to convince the other side that they will defect. So, but given that weakness, I actually think the Greens have had some significant wins. So it's a bit of a shame for them that this school boondoggle is going to potentially bring them down.
Let's talk New Zealand first. Winston is thrashing around, siding with National, attacking Ministry of Health officials. Is it enough to get 5% on election night?
Maybe he needs to do a deal with Billy TK. I mean, Jamie Lee Ross.
Jamie Lee Ross and Billy TK's new side show.
So maybe they could join up with that.
Advance.
And they could... Yes, look, I don't know what he can do. I think he needs something systemic, something massive.
Yes.
But I just don't think it's there. He's barked wolf so many times. He has consistently been sitting around that 2 to 3% mark for about a year now. I think it's going to require more than a Hail Mary. But remember, All it took on one occasion was a cup of tea and a tape recorder.
Yep.
In Epsom with Key and was it Banks?
Yes.
And all of a sudden he was back.
Yes.
So in this election cycle, with so many things moving, that's all it will take, and something like that can still get him back. But why it's giving a hail
But
Mary
that was the sharp Winston of old. He's a bit blunter these days.
Yeah, but that was something that happened that he had no control over. And remember, in New Zealand
he
First,
seized upon it.
New Zealand First was out of power at that point as well.
Let's talk they lost all news oxygen this week, but with National imploding, does David just let Judith do all the talking and people will go, no, screw this, I'm going act? Because this is going to be a problem for the next 5 weeks, right?
I don't think it is. So
what was their news oxygen this week?
Well, I don't think they need any because they've done enough now to get their party vote up to somewhere. So I think their base support now is probably at around the 3% mark.
Right.
When they were starting to push up around 6 or 7, ACT suddenly becomes under a whole pile of scrutiny. And I'm not so sure that ACT necessarily is going to survive a high degree of scrutiny.
Certainly not. It certainly is not. I guarantee that.
So
write
a bit
it, sign it. So
a little bit of quietness on that front probably does.
Not too bad.
Because everybody knows about David Seymour.
Yes.
They're there, people are aware of them. We don't need to be reminded of him.
Yep.
And all I think ACT needs to do at this point is not come out there and say something about chemtrails.
Right.
And not do anything.
Or 1080.
Or not do what Colin Craig did with his secretary.
Yes, that's also very important.
Yep. So that's all that ACT needs to do now is not have a scandal, and I think they've got their 4 to 6 MPs.
Final word predictions for the week ahead.
We never actually go back and check the references of last time, do we? There's no way of marking this. There's no way of saying you completely got it wrong last week. No, we did one time when I said it was going to be a quiet week.
Well, that was the only time.
We went back down to a lockdown. Okay, my prediction: the Wu-Tang, the thing will just disappear.
Yes,
the David Wong Tong.
Yep.
Will fall into the oblivion.
Yes.
I will say that Clark Gayford will do something silly.
Yes.
And I think and Chloe Swarbrick will do something to get ourselves into either Chloe Swarbrick, Emma.
Yes.
Or Helen White.
Yes.
And Auckland Central. One of those three will do something outstanding to get some media publicity.
I think that we're going to see more crazy things from the Green Academy. I think we're only scratching the surface of the truly crazy things they believe.
I disagree.
And we're going to get more of this stuff.
The news cycle has moved on. We went from the Green Academy to Judith Collins' husband's tweets.
Yes.
In like about 48 hours. Right? That's how fast this is going. One prediction, though, I think that this COVID thing is not over. I think that this thing seems to have legs.
Yes.
And the decision to let Auckland out of level 3
might actually have been a bad move, eh?
It was a decision made for political reasons.
Right.
And I think that will play very badly in the regions for Labor if there is sustained outbreak. We've already got a story of somebody in Wellington.
Wellington, that's right. Our next election podcast is Tuesday next week. We're going weekly through to the end of the election, and we've got Chloe Swarbrick, candidate for Auckland Central.
We want her in the studio.
Well, she doesn't want to be in the studio. We'll have
She's wise.
next
Very
week.
wise.
Very wise.